Hello, welcome to Sunday Sweet Chats. My name is Charles K. Carter, and I'm a queer poet with a new chapbook coming out from Finishing Line Press called Artificial Sweetness, which is available to pre-order now at finishinglinepress.com. But that's enough about me. Let's talk with our sweet guest today and discuss some poetry. Welcome, Chel. Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, I'm Chel Campbell. I am a poet from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I dabble in confessional poetry, spicy, right? Um, and gosh, I don't know. I don't know what to say about myself. I am a stay-at-home parent, actually, and so a lot of writing that I do is in between like nap times and stuff like that. But it keeps me on my toes. So yeah, I guess I graduated from the University of South Dakota with a master's degree in English in 2021. And so I've just been working on my poems, my manuscript, working on getting it out there when I have spare time. And I'm really excited to be here. And thank you, Charles, for having me on. I'm excited to talk with you today.
Thank you so
Um,
much. It's great to have you. Since the title of my chapbook is Artificial Sweetness and the theme of the series is Sunday Sweet Chats, what sweet treat satisfies your sweet urges when you have them?
To prepare, I ate a giant bowl of ice cream like 5 minutes before talking with you. I'm like, this is professional like preparation. I need to eat this gigantic bowl of ice cream. Yeah, chocolate and peanut butter, like that's it. That does it for me. Yeah.
Yeah, chocolate and peanut butter is a brilliant pairing. It's one of the,
Mhm.
and I think you're the third person I've talked to who's had something to say about chocolate and peanut butter. It's just
It,
one of the
it
most
can't be beat.
brilliant culinary combinations ever created.
Hmm.
And ice cream is delicious. Um, all right, so that's enough about sweet food. Let's talk about some sweet, sweet poetry. You have a poem to read to us, and after that, feel free to talk about any project or exciting things coming up.
Sure. Um, Let me pull it up here. I'm going to read a poem that was published in Campbell back in February. Um, so this is kind of an important poem to me because it is the first poem I wrote and first poem subsequently published about my struggles with OCD. And so yeah, I'll read it and then I'll chat a little bit about it. But here we go. This one is called Compulsive's Confessional in January. Sometimes I unfix my gaze in the bathroom mirror to see double, push grinning light bulbs beyond their fragile containers. I want to perform the same magic with my tongue, crack myself open like a pistachio, tell a stranger everything, just to have someone really know me, no matter the cost. A few weeks ago, I stole a tube of chapstick, considered selling feet pics, got a tattoo of a gravestone that reads meh above my ankle. Yesterday was the grayest Sunday, and I was halfway through sketching a nude self portrait when I was struck with the need to give myself a haircut with bangs. My sister talked me out of it. Today, I'm completely unproductive, and I think I've done well for someone who grew up lonely and so afraid. I no longer hear demons lurking around my bed or sink my bare fist into snow to see how long I can stand the burn. And I now believe most people don't secretly want to hurt me. And I think I'm definitely real as my skin between my teeth as I pink my cuticles into a prairie twilight. I'm nowhere close to perfect, not like the fresh snow pinkening under the sunset that bounces off my neighbor's tallest windows. And what is snow, if not water suspended above earth, waiting for time's permission to quench and pink us into spring? Father, I'm afraid I'm not sorry for any of this want. I no longer believe in sin. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. That was beautiful. One thing that's really great for me as the kind of host of this and curator of this is I don't know you very well. So like being able to connect with you and like hear a poem from you for the first time, that was beautiful. Um, I love the humor with like the bangs and some great visceral images like cracking open like a pistachio and that snow like sitting waiting for mission. That was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Um, yeah, thank you very much. And I wrote this poem. I was just diagnosed with OCD last year. And so even though I've been like feeling these feelings for a long time, there wasn't really a name to it. And so being able to finally be like know what it is and be able to write about it and share it, it's it's I'm kind of going in a new direction with my work. Like a lot of my past work has dealt with like past trauma or like parenthood or even how trauma has informed um, my parenting. And now that I'm getting kind of tired of writing about trauma, just feeling like who is Chel beyond like the trauma and my status as a parent and like what remains here. And I found like I still have a lot to grapple with my own mental health and my recent diagnosis. um, so yeah, that's kind of a direction that my work has taken. um, and when you mentioned like the humor, I'm glad that you picked up on the humor I was putting in the poem too, because I still want there to be like a kind of lightness or a kind of like zazz for life, even in the midst of like dealing with this diagnosis. And it's not so much of coming from a perspective of, look at the bright side of things, because that's like not who I am as a person. I tend to be actually a little more cynical. Um, but I actually got to attend this workshop. Are you familiar with the Sundress Academy for the Arts?
I know of it. I haven't like participated or anything, but
Okay, they do free workshops all the time, and I got to attend this amazing workshop by the poet Topaz Winters. And she talks a lot about like the power of joy in poetry. And it's not necessarily like happy poetry, which I think is interesting. I think it's interesting to think about like joy and pleasure existing alongside of us in life, even if we're not necessarily experiencing something happy in that given moment. I kind of clung on to that because um, so much of my work has focused on things that are not happy. And I would say, OCD isn't necessarily a happy thing either. But like, what if I can carve out moments of joy and pleasure and um, art, alongside all the shitty things that are happening in the world, not just me, what's going on in my own head, but all of the shitty, horrible things that are going on in this world. Like, yeah. So I was really actually really attracted to this chat series, sweetness, sweet chats, carving out or like creating places of sweetness despite all of this stuff going on.
I love that idea of um yeah, that joy exists even if it's within those dark pieces or whatever as well. I think
Mhm.
a lot of my work's done with trauma and like um my previous chapbook that came out before this one was totally on trauma. Like it was all about queer violence that happens in the US. And so that's like super fucking heavy and dark and
Mhm.
depressing. But like even in that manuscript that is like retelling these horrific events, like I tried to put little nuggets of those things too. And I think like with your poem and like a couple other people, that's kind of a trend I'm seeing on this series is that even when we're talking about heavy stuff, there's lightness in there that makes it so real and authentic. And it kind of reminds me of the play or movie Steel Magnolias. There's a
Mhm.
scene at the end where there's a comment about like laughing through tears is my favorite thing. And like spoiler alert if you haven't seen Steel Magnolias, but there's a funeral at the end, someone dies, and there's like they turn from like weeping to laughter, and that's so authentic and so real. I mean, most of us have probably laughed at a funeral because we're joking around with people we care about. We're trying to like
Mhm.
we're reliving memories. Like that's so authentic to have both of those elements at the same time.
Mhm.
And I think that that's been something I've been grappling with in my work is how do I bring more joy into it, but that kind of gave me a little like pat to say like it's okay if it's just those little moments because
Hmm.
that is something.
Hmm. And even if it's not just like figuring out how to, put joy, like the words or like those joyful words or moments of lightness in, but even just like the act of creating in and of itself, I think is pleasurable, is like perhaps a moment of joy, even if it's like the heaviest freaking thing you've ever written and you're just pouring your whole soul and like all of your trauma out on the page. Isn't it also just beautiful to create that, to make that? And I think that because maybe joy is kind of a complex word, or maybe joy isn't complex enough of a word, but I really think it's where art saves us, though, in that in creating pleasure, creating joy, or even just creating art is kind of like a rebellion against against the trauma, against you know everything in
Yes.
the world that's trying to kill us.
Nah, and I think that's even not to get political, but that seems very relevant today, especially in America with a lot of the like book bans we're seeing. And
Yeah.
like I know as a queer person, like some of those I grew up in Northwest Iowa in a very small town. So like those books, being able to go to the library, the public or school library and check out books with gay characters probably saved me. Like it made me see
Yeah.
I wasn't alone. There's people like me. And just pulling those options out from under people is just horrifying to me.
Yeah.
Because they did spark joy and gave me comfort. And that's what all of us are doing. We're reaching out to one another, trying to connect to one another. I
Yeah.
might not have the same diagnosis as you, but there's elements of that I can relate to. And
Right.
both sides of it, that dark and light. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, that act of creating as joy and connection.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so pumped. I'm just
Uh,
gonna go write another poem now after this. I don't know what it's gonna be about, but
this has been really great. It's been a
yeah.
pleasure to talk to you, pleasure to like officially meet you, and this has been such a great discussion. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience about anything coming up or anything exciting with you?
Oh man. I did start a new project. I'm venturing into fiction right now. Because a lot of my poetry is quite heavy, or like the subject matter is, and so I'm writing a sci-fi horror like novella about a sentient taco. So it's been
Only
quite
only a
fun,
poet. Only a
right?
poet would come to it from that angle.
So that's a personal project that I'm working on right now that's been really fun and kind of a nice change of pace, um, and kind of a challenge because I'm not used to writing fiction, but it's fun for me. I enjoy it. But yes, thank you for having me on, and congratulations on your chapbook with Finishing Line Press.
Thank you. Thank you, Chel, for being here and sharing your work in this beautiful discussion. It's been a sweet treat to have you. My name is Charles K. Carter, and I hope to catch you again next Sunday for another episode of Sunday Sweet Chats. Bye, everyone.